Hey there guys, DMO73 here, bringing you a feature match back from Christmas vacation, getting ready for one last feature match before the new year. Sorry about the delay last week. Today I am playing a Welser Wicked Spirits kind of tribal mid-range. It is green, black, red, and I am playing against my buddy Logan, who is playing the updated version of his Shaela list. So it is now Shaela Cancels, using a lot of new cards from Advent of the Demon King. This is a really fun match. I think you guys are definitely going to enjoy it, and I think that this Welser Wicked Spirit list is pretty fun, so hopefully you enjoy it. I'm going to roll a 6 here. Logan rolled a 9, so he will be on the play. So the Shaela Cancels list has definitely a lot more viable damage options now, and use of obviously way more cancels in the form, particularly more powerful cancels in the form of Otherworld Dreams. So for me, it's going to be a matter of trying to make sure those cards can stick and not being canceled and trapped out by the infamous Severing Winds Otherworld Dreams combo. It's going to play that Mermaid that lets him draw a card because it's raining. Call for my first stone, hit a Blasting Waves, choose to use my Energize to play a Flame of the Demon King. This card is very excellent for the list as we use Demon Subjugation, and so Demon Subjugation then also becomes a removal spell when I use the Flame of the Demon King, because I can sacrifice it, go grab a 3-drop, Majin, and also burn something for 6. He's going to go ahead and call Stone and then just swing in, and I'm saying, yeah, that's fine, I'm going to take the damage. I need to keep my Demon Spirit on there for now. Call Stone, hit another Blasting Waves. Decide to use the Subjugation and attempt to sacrifice my Demon. I'll burn his Mermaid for 600 because of the Demon trigger, and then I get to go grab a 3-drop, which in this case will probably be Darkness Majin. Being a 3-drop, it's immediate 8/8, so dropping that on turn 2 and being able to support it with Cancel Will is pretty nice. He is actually going to go ahead and use that Shaela card and put it back in my hand at the end of the turn, which I'm still fine with because I still technically got a removal out of it, and I get to keep the card and play it again later, and potentially use it as a removal source if I can get my Darkness Crest on. It's going to play another one of those Mermaids and draw a card. Passes the turn to me there, and there I get a Darkness Crest, which I'm really liking that. Get another Blasting Waves. Having all this Fire Will is not too big of a deal because I can play those crests just using any color, just using the Fire Will, which is great. Play my Darkness Crest, attempt to replay the Demon Flame that I just grabbed back with the Darkness Crest, and now my Darkness Majin can come in and kill a 2-drop, which is pretty excellent if I decide to drop that later. Provided it doesn't get canceled, of course. He's going to play that Melfi at the end of the turn, draw for turn, and pay the 3 life for his Kakia Stone, taking him down to 37, gets to do some scrying there. He does have that Moasaurus in his hand, so if he wanted to tap out, he could pay all 5 Moasaurus and lock me down to 2 stones. Or lock down those 2 tapped stones. Instead, he chooses to play a card that I think a lot of water decks are going to use as a win con, which is Misty Dragon Spirit. He's going to attempt to Otherworld Dreams my Otherworld Dreams, because I'm trying to cancel the Misty Dragon. He says fine, but I get to grab the Darkness Crest in from the field. Nothing really to grab from my graveyard, but I still at least get that second crest in the field. Not that that necessarily does anything, it's just I wanted to get a card off of the Otherworld Dreams and maybe try to bait out a Severing for some reason. Call for a Stone, hit my Scorched Bales, so I need one more Darkness source to be able to play that Advent of the Demon King. I'm going to play my Crest of Fire and burn the Melfi for 600. Pay 1 more and attempt to subjugate. I'll burn his Mermaid for 600. Go grab a Darkness Majin who won't have anything to target because there's no 2-drops or less, but still an 8/8 body on board. Misty Dragon Spirit comes back in at the end of the turn. This is one of the beauties of Misty Dragon, is it just can flicker out of existence just long enough to keep itself safe. In comes the Moasaurus. It's going to lock down those 3 stones of mine, swing at me for 9, and then flicker at the end of the turn. I go down to 28. So then it's just recovered and can serve as a blocker on my Darkness Majin. Not that Moasaurus isn't just already doing that. Pay 1 to play my Water Crest to try to draw another card, hoping that I can maybe survive another turn, at least until my stones get untapped so I can try to make a play. Didn't see another darkness source, which was really unfortunate. If I had seen a darkness source here, then those Advent of the Demon Kings would have been very solid, especially since I have an elixir in my hand as well. Could have played that, done a flip with 3 crests, so I'd have swiftness, therefore making it be able to do a lot of damage and put in the elixir and kind of wipe the board and put things back into my favor. Does Kage's Moonbeam Butterfly, where X equals 3 to go grab a Charlotte. He'll get to go draw a card off of that. You see he has that Otherworld Dreams in his hand. So he's set up for protection from that. Draws into a Ferris spell, also a really good card for him. Lots of cancels to kind of support the fact that he's got this massive board state. Swings in for 15, I'm going to go ahead and have to block it, and then Misty Dragon will hit me for 9, taking me down to 19. Again, flickers out and gets to serve as a blocker. Logan's very much in control of this game. You see he also has the Severing Winds there, and he's clearly got lethal on board. I have to try to make a play, and unfortunately, because I don't have that second darkness source, I'm just kind of out of luck. I call for stone here. Pay 4, attempt to play the elixir. He's going to go ahead and Otherworld Dreams that, and I say, okay, I guess I'll go ahead and put another creature on board. Not that it matters. If I had done the elixir first and there's a potential of before calling for stone, then maybe I could have done the Advent of the Demon King, but he just has the Severing for the second card anyway, and I go, yep, you've got it, nothing I can do, no creatures to play, so that Severing locked me out. So we move on to game 2. This is just one of the major things that Otherworld Dreams does so well, and in a deck like Shaela, where you're drawing so many cards with like Seabed Investigations, Aqua Soul to bring stuff back to your hand, Mermaids that cantrip, that kind of stuff, she can really make use of Otherworld Dreams plus Severing. A lot of other decks kind of struggle with it. The only reason why I'm running that combination in the Welser list is purely because Subjugation helps with my consistency issues. Play 1 to play my Fire Majin. At least get a creature out on board, that 1-drop 4/4. Nothing to burn, so it doesn't matter that I didn't play the crest first. He'll just call stone pass turn, get a Blasting Waves. Now I have access to some green, which is nice. Play a Water Crest to try to draw a card. Hit him for 4, take him down to 36. So the Welser list actually has all 5 crests in it. I play 1 light crest and 1 wind crest, just in case for control matchups. If I want to be able to have flip and have that imperishable. Against this matchup, I probably would side them out, the wind and light, and try to bring in some of the other options. But, you know, we'll kind of see how that goes. Played another Water Crest, draw a card. He flashed in Melfi at the end of turn to continue his kind of ramping cycle. He's going to play that Charlotte, which also helps to reduce the cost of his chance, thus making his cancels easier to play. Call a stone, hit his Scorched Veils. I can leave up green. I'm going to play that Magic Crest of Fire to kill the Charlotte, making his stuff, again, harder to cast. Swing at him for 4, seeing maybe if I can get him to tap down the Melfi. He says, yeah, that's fine, you can deal 4 damage. So, and then I'll pass the turn there. I have the Fairs in my hand, which is nice to be able to potentially deal with his cards based on what he decides to play. But you see he already has that Otherworld's, or he has at least a Severing in his hand. So he's definitely got a lot of options. Plays that Seabed Investigations, gets to draw. And there's the Otherworld Dreams, gets to keep 2 of those cards. Really great card for him to be able to just say, well, there's a Misty Dragon and an Otherworld Dreams. Gets to stay safe in that regard and lock me out. So, goes to my turn, recover, call for another stone. Pay red. Cast a Majin and attempt to burn his Melfi. He says, oh, I'll respond. I'll use Severing Winds on it, or I'll use the Otherworld Dreams on it. I know it probably has the Severing here, but okay, sure, we'll go with it. Because I have a Severing too, so I'm trying to decide exactly how I want this to go. Try to play the Darkness Crest. He says he's going to go ahead and Severing that. And so you're going to see, so then I'm going to say, well, I'm going to go ahead, It's my second card for the turn. I'll go ahead and try to Severing back your Severing so that my Darkness Crest can resolve. He's thinking about it there. He says, yeah, that's fine. You hit it with the Severing. Crest resolves. I get my Majin back. Pay red, and you're going to see some editing here in just a second. We kind of get like mixed up here on which stones I had already tapped. I didn't remember the fact that I had not used that green yet, and that I'd already tapped a stone to produce the red with the Scorched Bales. So I kind of am not even looking at the stone under my hand, and we kind of do a little bit of a rewind for me to be able to kind of answer this kind of play that you're seeing here where he Aqua Souls and grabs the Severing. So that was on my fault. I completely wasn't tracking my stones very well, but the end result there was that I used the Farers on the Aqua Soul, and then I got to cancel that, then my Majin resolves, and I kill the Melfi, and we move forward. So I apologize for the quick little editing clip there. It took us about a minute or so to kind of have the two of us discuss it in real time and figure out what had happened. And Logan's a great guy for being willing to talk all that out with me. He plays the Misty Dragon Spirit, and I say, yep, that's a Misty Dragon. I can't really do anything about it. Passes the turn to me. I have 3 crests now, which means Welser will have Swiftness if I do manage to bring him in, which feels really good. Go ahead and swing for 4. Get that damage in, take him down to 21, pay 3, and play my Darkness Majin, which has to kill something 2 or less, so I have to kill that Majin that I had on the field. That's the one kind of problem with Wicked Spirits, is that they have to trigger. They're kind of mandatory. You can't say may. So if you're kind of one-sided and getting ahead on the curve, you can actually really punish yourself by playing a card when you don't need to. That's why I definitely consider at least this variant to be a mid-range rather than a rush, maybe even kind of a tempo, because you're not necessarily trying to really, I would say, rush the opponent down and keep their stuff off board at the same time, because if you keep all their stuff on board, you just can't play more creatures. You just end up killing your own stuff. So you have to kind of time your moves appropriately. I do Subjugation here on the Darkness Majin to bring out the Elixir. I had actually sideboarded out the Beelzebub, which was probably not the smartest idea, knowing that he had the Misty Dragon Spirit, but I wasn't necessarily sure how many of my subjugations were going to resolve, and that's the main way I bring out Beelzebub. So I brought out the Elixir instead, forcing him to kind of flicker out his dragon, and I get the extra 4 damage in there with the Majin. Calls for Stone, plays 2, plays that Mermaid, which lets him draw into a search for a mermaid other than itself. He grabs the Aqua Rifle Mermaid, and then he tells me he's going to go ahead and play it and put my Elixir back in my hand. Not necessarily sure if that was the right call, because now I can just recast it, and he's tapped himself out. Yes, he does get to do the 9 damage there, taking me down to 31, but essentially now he's reloaded a kill spell, which is pretty good for me. I don't have enough crests. I specifically would need my light crest here to be able to flip without using Advent of the Demon King, and that is one of the downfalls of Welser, especially in this color combination, is you don't have very easy ways to go searching for your crests unless you're playing the dragon. I definitely could see this variant playing a couple of the dragons, so you can go search those little tiny crests, or at the very least sideboarding them for matchups such as these, so you can resolve it, search the crests you need, next turn, the next couple turns, play them, and get Welser to kind of be your heavy hitter. Swinging with the Majin, he blocks with the dragon, which I was fine with because I was planning on trying to bring it back anyway, or maybe force some damage on it. He flickers it out, and then I play the Elixir, which lets me clear the other 2 creatures off his board, and then I get to play a Darkness Crest and bring back my Darkness Majin. So again, this kind of tempo plays where I'm trying to push damage through while also keeping his board as clear as possible, and then leaving a threat for him to have to deal with on his turn. He chooses to pay he chooses not to pay, actually, the 400 life, which I think is probably the right call here. He does get to stack his deck, which is nice. He's staring down that 1,000 damage, which is higher than his obviously than his Misty Dragon Spirit. So yeah, he can swing in and get that 900 damage and flicker it out, but then if he doesn't put another blocker on field, he's going to be taking that 1,000 damage from Elixir, and then Misty Dragon, it has to be blocked and be killed, which is not necessarily very good for him. He's going to go ahead and cast Kaguya's Moonbeam Butterfly. and he does it so that X equals 3. He grabs that Charlotte off the top of his deck and gets to, he knew it was there because of the stacking stone, but then he gets to shuffle and draw a card. He is tapped out here, so this does give me an opportunity, but he pokes me for that damage with Misty Dragon Spirit. There's no reason to not. It's completely safe, and you can always just flicker it out and keep it untapped. I get a pretty lucky top deck here, having the Elixir, and then I top deck that Advent of the Demon King. It's an excellent spell for Welser. I kind of think it's at least a 3, if not a 4 of in every Welser deck, just so you don't have to worry about the crests to be able to flip, because Welser, even with 3 crests, is just a powerhouse. I do get to bring in a Majin off of Welser. I have that Darkness Majin I brought back earlier. He doesn't have anything to kill, but it is at least a creature. And then I get to put -3/-3 on 2 different creatures on the board, which is awesome. So I'm kind of explaining to him how the minus counters work here. When Welser enters, I get a Darkness Majin. When he enters, he puts 3 -1/-1 counters on everything your opponent controls, and then when he attacks, it does the same thing. So it has swiftness, because I have 3 different colored crests, so I'll swing in for 15, making everything much smaller. He decides to take the damage and go down to 200, then I'll swing in with the Elixir. He'll sacrifice the Charlotte, which is currently a 4/4, despite having so many different cards in his hand, because Welser's effect doesn't target, so it's just a permanent neg state. And then Charlotte will get killed. So the Misty Dragon Spirit, he can flicker out at the end of the turn to make it back to being a 9/9, because all those counters just fall off when he flickers it, which is still good for him, but now he's staring down all of this damage, and he has to try to prevent me from getting a single swing in against him. And he also can't play anything too small, because if he does, then my negs, might just be able to force it over just using Welser. Logan is known for running some silly stuff, especially Door of Time. He is a very big fan of putting Door of Time in almost all of his decks, just for fun. And he knows this is kind of his last turn. Doesn't see the Door of Time here and says, "Yep, let's go ahead and just move on." So, with just the Misty Dragon Spirit, there wasn't really much he could do, and we move on to Game 3. So my opening hand there, I see the Magic Quest of Wind, but I can use Wind because of my stone, so I'm not particularly sure that I want to grab the Magic Crest of Wind right now, even knowing that he has to control, especially since my hand is pretty dead. I didn't really draw into any creatures. I am going on the draw, which makes me kind of okay with that, but I definitely need to at least see something come up. He plays that turn 1 Mermaid to draw him a card. I get another World Dreams out of the top deck. Still no creatures to play, though, other than that Elixir. I just have to kind of hope and ramp up. That's the other reason why I didn't use the Energize there, is because I'm trying to maybe potentially ramp into Elixir, and I want to leave the green open for other World Dreams, especially if I can stop a Misty Dragon Spirit from resolving. Swings at me for 3, takes me down to 37. Go ahead and play that Magic Crest of Darkness just to get it out there, because I can still play the other World Dreams at this point, and potentially next turn I can play that Elixir and at least kill something big while putting that 10/10 out there. Swings at me for the damage, hits me for 8. See, he does have that kind of handful of cancel stuff. I see that Advent of the Demon King, but I know his deck is cancel heavy, so I want to be able to support it and make sure it resolves. You see I have 3 cancel spells myself in the hand: Farer's, Otherworlds, and Severing Wind. I need that card to resolve. So I need to keep that extra will, and I'm thinking, well, you know what, I'm going to take one more turn of 8 damage, that's fine, but if I can be successful here and get Welser to flip, survive through the cancel war, and pretty much get to win the game, especially having the elixir in there too with the Darkness Crest. So I'm playing things a little bit riskier than maybe I would. He plays the Misty Dragon Spirit just like I wanted to on curve, and I was able to play the Otherworld Dreams. He says, well, can I Severing Winds the Otherworld Dreams? It's like the second card. And it's like, you could technically cast Severing Winds, but the only thing it could cancel, it wouldn't have anything possibly to cancel because the dragon is already canceled and the Otherworld Dreams is already resolved. So he can't really do anything with it. Other than that, he doesn't really have anything to stop the Otherworld Dreams, so that Misty Dragon Spirit is now going to be gone, and out comes the Melfi. He decides to not swing here, which I think is pretty weird. Maybe he wants to keep them up as blockers or something, if he's maybe worried about a play. I still think it probably would have been the right call to just go ahead and take that 8 damage. I mean, it was pretty free, taking me down to 21. He casts Otherworld Dreams. I'm going to go ahead and cast a Ferris spell. He plays the Severing. I have the backup Severing to stop his Severing. And thankfully enough, I win the cancel war there. So Welser gets to flip and put an Elixir into the play, which means that Welser's going to get to do -3/-3 to the board, which will kill his Little Mermaid. Elixir gets to kill a Resonator, which will kill his Melfi, and now his Charlotte is a 2/2. So a very big momentum swing for me, putting that Elixir on the board, and now I've got the 15/15 that every turn can just start swinging and permanently stat neg his board. So he's got to focus now, rather than saving will for cancels, he has to focus on putting out blockers, which is really excellent for me this early in the game. The other thing is, too, he's in colors that can't really interact with a J-Ruler, so my guy is pretty much safe. He does play the Aqua Rifle Mermaid here to put back my Elixir. Only having 3 stones means it's actually a pretty good play. Then we're looking like, wait, do you have enough stones? Do we make sure that you actually did call for stone? He forgot to call for stone, does pay the 3, taking him down to 31. So it's also great in the fact that by paying that extra life, he's now actually helping me. He does get a little bit of time to potentially stop some stuff, decides to play the Seabed Investigation, tries to draw. His deck does play Amaterasu's Foresight, so maybe he's hoping to draw into one of those to help keep him alive for a little while. Grabs the Aqua Soul, I think, and the Dawn of the Earth, which is draw power as well as being able to recover and maybe keep some extra damage on board. See, I have that Otherworld Dreams. I'll pay 1. Swing at him for 15. The Charlotte will get killed because of the stat neg effect. And then the Aqua Rifle Mermaid gets -3, so she goes down to being a 4/4. He says, sure, I'm going to take the 15 damage. I'll go down to 16. I'm going to pay 1. Play the Majin. Now I could have subjugated it here and gotten the Darkness Majin out, which probably would have been the right call, especially since I have the Otherworld Dreams to stop a potential Severing Wind. But instead I say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and wait and try to make it my first card for the turn, see what I can get off of it. He plays that Seabed Investigation after recovering. Swings in, I'll say, sure, I'm going to go ahead and try to block, so we'll trade. He pays 2 to cast Dawn of the Earth, and I'll say I'm going to go ahead and Otherworld Dreams it. And we get into a little bit of a weirdness here again with, like, not tracking his own effects. He says, I'm going to go ahead and cast, instead of the Dawn of the Earth, I'll cast Amaterasu's Foresight, so that we, like, neither of us die, which is great for me. I'm totally fine with it. Now I get to subjugate next turn. I can swing at it, make it a 1/1, and then kill it with my Fire Majin, and then subjugate it immediately. But instead, we're kind of like looking back and forth, and he actually realizes that he has the Ferris spell in hand, which he completely forgot about. And because of the kind of stuff that happened in Game 2, we're actually going to kind of rewind a little bit here. So pardon us while we kind of do the cleanup. He's going to Ferris spell the Otherworld Dreams, and then the Aqua Soul. We're going to bring the Amaterasu's Foresight back into his hand. because we're kind of like talking about the rewind here. See, Amaterasu's Foresight gets to come back into his hand because it wasn't successfully, he didn't have to cast it with the Otherworld Dreams. Now his Mermaid is a 6/6, and he gets to kill my Majin, and then he can swing in and hit me for that 6 damage, taking me down to 23. It will go back down to being a 4/4 at the end of the turn, which I'm still pretty okay with. So you have a Darkness Majin there. Now I'm kind of looking, because of my life total, and I know the fact that he also plays Farer's Command, I'm looking at, like, how do I do this? How do I make sure I don't die? Just in case he happens to have Door of Time if I try to tap out or anything like that. It would be a 1/1, and so I'm kind of just like, is there any way for him to kill me with this using a Door of Time? Like, I don't think so at 23 life, to kind of try to decide what my move's going to be here. I know he has the Amaterasu's in his hand, so like this is a turn where I can successfully get in, put him down to 1, which really puts pressure on him. He almost always has to save up that will for Amaterasu's Foresight, otherwise he just dies. And by swinging, it puts his Mermaid down to a 1/1, which even if a Farer's Command, even if he successfully did, the Door of Time, and then so Door of Time, swing for 1, recover, swing for 1, swing for 11, that's a maximum of 13 damage, and he can't possibly Door of Time. It would like tap him out essentially to do Door of Time, because of the 3 will that I have just remaining. So, but I am going to go ahead and just swing at him, put him down to 1, put that pressure on, put the clock on, take it down to being a 1/1, because I'm feeling pretty safe, and I'm not sure what could possibly happen here. Recovers everything. Pays 5. Just a Moasaurus. Can't lock down my 3 stones because nothing happens. I mean, he can make it so they don't recover, but it wouldn't actually lock them down because they're not tapped currently. But now if I try to tap them for a cancel spell or anything, that's just out of luck. Chooses not to swing with the 1/1, which is fair. Draw for my turn. Combat, swing in, kill the Mermaid, give them negs to the Moasaurus so that a Welser won't die because it only has 12 attack. And then I'm thinking, like, there's nothing he can do, even with a Door of Time here. Like, he has to play a creature and Door of Time me, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave some will up just to make it so that can't possibly happen. Playing a little bit more skittish than maybe I should, but this is game 3, so I want to make sure that it is successful. And I'm just concerned that maybe there's something I haven't seen in his deck that maybe can make it happen. Having the Otherworld Dreams there in my hand makes me feel a little bit better, because I'll go ahead and try to swing. He says, Amaterasu's Foresight, I'm going to force him to play that. And I'll say, well, now Otherworld Dreams it, so you have to play something else. And actually what he does here is he uses the freeze spell from the Otherworld Dreams to cast Aqua Soul, bringing back the Amaterasus to his hand and then recasting the Amaterasus. So this is fine for me. I got him to spend 4 will and 2 cards just to stop me from killing him. Again, kind of ripping his hand to shreds and making it so if he wants to try to do... he's not really in a position to be able to even try to Door of Time me. Plus, if he happens to call a Kaguya Stone, he can't pay for it. He gets lucky here and he doesn't hit another Kaguya Stone. He does only have 1 left in the deck, so that's kind of like... I'm not banking on it by any means, but it is very helpful to kind of put him in that position. He plays the Seabed Investigation to see about maybe drawing into some cards. Sees that other Aqua Soul. Does see the Door of Time, you see there. So there's still a chance that maybe it resolves successfully, but I don't think he necessarily has any creatures in his hand at this point. He uses Aqua Soul to bring back the Seabed Investigation, or bring back the Amaterasu so we can try to survive for a turn. And I'm saying, well, he still doesn't have any creatures on board. He still doesn't... I know he's got the Amaterasu, so there's no point in swinging right now. So I will go ahead and ramp a stone, pay 3, and play my Darkness Majin just to put another creature on board. So now I can keep threatening him pressure while calling stone with Welser, which is exactly what I want to be able to do. You see, I have 2 subjugations and 2 elixirs in my hand. Very good position for me to be in right now, especially since I can threaten pressure with the Dark Majin. Does Kaguya's Moonbeam Butterfly to go grab a 4-drop. And I say, yeah, sure, that's fine. Brings back that Misty Dragon Spirit from the bottom of his deck. He should shuffle there, but at this point I feel like we're kind of just being casuals. Always shuffle your deck every time you pick it up. It's mandatory. Gonna pay 3. Play the Aqua Rifle Mermaid. Bouncing the Darkness Majin back to my hand. Cover for the stone. I have those elixirs in my hand though, so now that he's tapped out and this elixir is definitely going to resolve, I can play it. I can do a forced try to kill of the Aqua Rifle Mermaid. And the reason why I'm doing this is because now when I swing in with Welser, he has to block with Misty Dragon Spirit. Otherwise, so I get both of them off the board for sure. If I had killed the Misty Dragon, he would have just flickered it, and then he could have blocked, and then gotten the Misty Dragon back, which would have set him up for a Door of Time play, which is not what I want to do. I have to keep those Misty Dragons off the board, because now he's at enough will, especially having tapped out with Welser, or with Elixir, to be able to possibly Door of Time me. He is going to go ahead and get kind of silly here. This is essentially Logan admitting that he can't win the game. He's going to cast the Door of Time, then draws into his card for the extra turn, calls his last stone, and gets really kind of silly here. He knows there's no possible way he can answer an Elixir and a Welser, especially since I can play another Elixir next turn and just kind of follow up for the pressure. So what he does here is very silly and actually doesn't even work. He pays 5 to try to play the spell to bounce all non-waters, and then casts Otherworld Dreams, which can't even target his own spell, and then brings out the Charlotte. There's just very silly ending, and it's essentially him just saying, you know what, I'm going to end the game on my own terms. Draws into an Aqua Soul, plays the Aqua Soul, and then brings back the Door of Time and then casts it for 0, even though he knows it doesn't mean that he doesn't lose the game. So casts it again and just says, you know what, Jeremy, that was really fun, that was good, you've got it, but I'm going to be silly on my last turn and say let's end the match there. Huge thanks to Logan for playing this list. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Looking forward to giving you guys the deck profiles later this weekend. And until next time, this is TMO73 signing off. Huge thanks to the patrons of the channel. You see their names on the screen here, some of them, and the rest are down below in the description for their support of the channel and the content. If you want to get a chance to get your name in the screen here and access to our private Discord server, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon by clicking that little P on the screen. Thanks so much. See you next time.